Let's dive into the Giants. I didn't get to recap the Eagles game last week. This full-time job is kicking my ass big time, and I'm probably burnt out already. I've been on the job like less than a month, and I'm burnt out. But so we're gonna recap the Eagles Monday night game, that loss, that horrific loss, and then the blowout win against the Dolphins. I think anyone who's not a Giants fan would say, wow, you're up 17-3 and you lost in overtime. You had that game in the bag, and then you let it get away against like pretty much backups, reserves, whatnot. Like inexcusable, fire everyone. But it's like, that's just the way it has gone against the Eagles for a very long time now, where, and it's funny to watch on Twitter. It's so funny to watch the reactions on Twitter. And, I've tempered myself now because I know it doesn't matter how much we get up. I've seen us go up 19-3 and lose 22-19. I just seen the wheels come off and get derailed down the stretch because we just cannot. Either we're not making halftime adjustments or we are not responding to the halftime adjustments that the other team is making. And that's got to be on the coaching staff. It has to be. And it was just so funny watching like everyone, it's Eli Manning's first start since week 2. Could be one of his final games ever. He has a very bad history against the Eagles. So, automatically I'm going to this thinking, man, he hasn't started in so many games, and watch him come out and be on top of the world. And just be looking like old Eli, strong arm, rested, whatever. And we got a little bit of both. First half, the first series or so, first quarter, I want to say, he did look very rusty. He's throwing behind guys. He's throwing too high. He was very inaccurate. And we went back to the old 3-and-out. I feel like we didn't get a ton of 3-and-outs with Daniel Jones. He just finds a way to scramble on third down and pick up first downs. Back to Eli now, it's a lot more 3-and-outs. So, and then he hits the one slant to Slayton, who takes it to the house, and then he hits in the long bomb to Slayton on the left sideline, who takes it to the house. And I'm thinking, man, outside of those two throws, what are the Giants and what does this game look like? And yeah, I saw a lot of tweets and a lot of people saying, wow, Giants defense looks good in the first half. And it's like, they should. They had the Giants defense outside of maybe one or two guys, Peppers and Connolly. Their starters are all there. And they're all fully rested. They're all ready to go. No one's banged up or injured or anything. So I would expect the Giants defense to shut down an Eagles offense that is hobbled. I mean, Alshon Jeffrey left the game. I don't even think Nelson Aguilar suited up. They were down to one healthy receiver. Miles Sanders left the game. I think Jay Ajayi was a non-factor. And all of a sudden, it's their third, fourth string running back is tearing us up. Zach Ertz. I don't know how. Going to the game, you have to know Zach Ertz is their main weapon, primary target, who's going to tear you up. And they still, even after all the other viable receiving threats went down or left the game, could not cover Zachary Ertz. Just mind-blowing. And I knew as soon as the game was 17-10, something like that, 17-14, whatever it was. I think it was 17-10. I just knew they're going to lose this game. I mean, the offense did nothing in the second half. As great as Eli was in the first half, great. I mean, he had two big plays. A couple of okay throws mixed in. Second half, he didn't do shit. The offense didn't do anything in the second half. So I should have put money down on them losing in overtime because that was just a guarantee, especially after the broadcast team, was it ESPN jinxed the shit out of the team by throwing up that graphic. The Giants are 8 of 9 in overtime. Oh, okay. Here comes a big L right in the face. Here's a crazy stat that I saw, I guess the night of the game, maybe following the game. Carson Wentz's contract, He has a $30 million option bonus due March 27th. If the Eagles decline, it converts into a guaranteed 2020 salary, meaning Philly would hold a $42.65 million cap figure for Wentz, but the remainder of his contract would void. And that void would come with a $19.8 million dead cap in 2021. So, man, what a contract. I guess you gotta hope that that's your guy, huh? I mean, if you're Philly, and never talk about, what do you know, Neal? You're a Giants fan. Don't talk about the Eagles and what they're doing. Dude, though, I mean, come on. The Eagles don't win the division and go to I don't know if it's looking that way now, because I think Dallas just destroyed the Rams. And meanwhile, the Eagles barely scraped by the Redskins. So if I had to guess, I'd say the Cowboys win the division, go to the playoffs, and then it's man, that's a tough spot for Philly, because it's I watched the game, and Wentz makes good throws here and there, and they just drop them, and they don't have receivers. So it's is it on Wentz or is it on the receivers? Anyway, getting back to the Giants. Leonard Williams says that the Giants don't offer him top-tier money, he'll hit free agency. He leads all interior defensive linemen and quarterback hits, according to Pro Football Focus. This was before the Dolphins game. And it's, here it's Olivier Vernon 2.0. Olivier Vernon without the sacks. I mean, at least Olivier OV eventually would come up with sacks, and he would maybe average 8 or 10 a season, and you're all right, I guess he's getting a sack here or there. Leonard Williams is just not getting sacks. Pressures, hits, great, or hurries, whatever you want to call it. I just can't see paying Aaron Donald-esque money to this guy. And if he doesn't sign with the Giants, it's well, I mean, it's already looking like a shit trade. But I mean, I was of the mindset, and I've said it before, where I really did think Gettleman would be safe, and I don't know that he's going to be safe anymore. That Leonard Williams fuck up is bigger than people are paying attention to. But then again, he has something like Darius Slayton, that he can fall back on. Slayton is the first rookie to have multiple 100-plus receiving yards and 2+ receiving touchdown games in a single season since 2014. First Giants player with 150-plus receiving yards in a first half since October 2005 when Plax did it. Had 179 from then, I guess, sophomore Eli Manning. Eli, 11-19, 179 in the first half, 4 of 11 for 24 yards in the second. Barf. What happened? You're telling me Philly made the adjustments at half and came out and knew how to handle Eli and Tate and Slayton and all that jazz, and we just didn't? So stupid. And it came down to the defense too. I mean, that offense, that Eagles offense was so debilitated. They lost their right tackle, their running back, the receivers. I mean, they were just a mash unit, and we couldn't stop them in the fourth quarter. And I tweeted that DeAndre Baker is basically a bust. And of course, he posts an 87.6 overall grade, and had 3 pass breakups on 5 targets, allowed just 1 catch for 7 yards. But did you see the tackle attempt that he had on what could have been a stop? He completely whiffed and olayed, and it just it's a bad look. And he does this thing, I don't know. He just rubs me the wrong way. Breaks up a pass and he does that stupid jet thing that he does with his arms extended, and I'm just guy, do the pass defending more often, and then eventually come up with your celebration when you're lauded as one of the top players in the league, not when you're considered a bust. Bethea has been a stud stopping the run. awesome. And he has the fourth highest grade defending the run for safety. Great. Led the team in tackles with 11. Big plays near the goal line. But in coverage, still a liability. Giants had 14 missed tackles against the Eagles. Ogletree had 3 missed tackles. He also gave up 8 completions on 8 attempts and was the lowest rated defensive player. He's got to be gone. I mean, that's pretty obvious. I think and you can kind of see it in his body language too, the way that he plays. Just like he just knows like his days are numbered. Eagles had 415 total yards of offense and was the most they've had since week 1. So stupid. And people are talking about, Pat Shurmur should be fired for that flea flicker call, which when I watched it happen, I was like, I had disaster written all over it. It just didn't look right from the get-go. So it was more of an execution thing than it was the actual play call. Because it's like it was 3rd and forever. You're going to run another fucking draw that goes nowhere. You're going to run another short pass that goes nowhere. You're already out of the playoffs. Might as well take a shot. So I saw it and I was like, I think it's because of the way it was handled. Like, it just looked awkward. It didn't look like it was run very well. And, of course, Solder gets beat. And people are, tearing into Shurmur saying that's the reason he should be fired. I was like, no. He should have been fired last week after he did like a 3rd and 10 like jet sweep to a guy they just signed who didn't even take 1 snap all year. It's like, that's ridiculous. But and then it comes out like you see the replay. And if Solder blocks his guy, Manning has, I think, Golden Tate or someone down the seam wide open for a touchdown. So. Ogletree has allowed 43 completions on 48 targets and 4 touchdowns in coverage this year. I mean, it's awful. That is just awful. I mean, that's enough for me, at least, to say we need to move on and admit that was a failure and take our losses and just try and I mean, obviously you get Connolly back hopefully next year, and then you just gotta draft another stud inside linebacker, make a signing, something. And I've been all over Solder, and I was all over Solder on Monday night. And then this came out. The Giants revealed in their announcement that Nate Solder was the Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee, that his 4-year-old son Hudson underwent surgery to have a tumor removed during bye week, and he is currently undergoing the 3rd round of chemo. So you wonder why a guy is playing the way he is? That's probably a pretty good reason why Solder is not playing up to snuff. I can't imagine trying to play with your kid going through that. So, Rico Bosco Barstool says some things are bigger than sports. Yeah, it's bigger than sports. I don't even know how you go about handling that, but I hope things turn out all right for Hudson. That's so sad. And, but I still think Solder is a problem on the left side. And if I'm the GM, if I'm Gettleman, if I'm Mara, I make a push to put Solder on the right side. And then you got to bring in someone as a absolute knockout of the park on the left side. And I would say even double down. Draft and free agency. Janoris Jenkins was waived. Of all the ways that Jenkins leaves the team, this is probably the worst. I mean, we all knew that he wasn't going to finish out his contract with the Giants. I mean, I knew he wasn't going to finish out his contract with the Giants. I knew that they were going to... the hope was that he was going to get traded and we get something in return, and we didn't get anything in return, which is just crazy. I mean, considering that this guy walked out of, I believe it was him or maybe it was DRC, but just walked out of practice in 2017. It's like that right there. I was surprised that, with the Gettleman coming on and with the culture change, with Gettleman trading Eli Apple and Snacks and Vernon and OBJ, you would think that Janoris Jenkins would have been one of the first to go, and instead he's one of the last, and we waive him. We end up waiving him for a comment he made to a fan in which he called the fan a quote-unquote retard. And he said, that's just part of my language growing up, a cultural thing or whatever, which, growing up when I was 8 or 12 or whatever, yeah, we called each other that whenever you would act dumb or stupid or whatever. To call a fan that is crazy. To not apologize and say it's just part of my culture. And then to tweet after he got waived, best news ever. And it's just like, I don't understand what they saw in him. Did he really have that big of an impact on the other guys in the secondary? And I think one of the guys did come out. I don't know if it was Sam Beal or Ballantyne, or one of the guys said, yeah, he was a major help, but it's not worth the hassle at that price too. I tweeted out, I don't have it here in my notes, but I did tweet it out that he's the highest graded corner for the Giants, but he's also the 55th best cornerback in the league. His contract is not 55th highest for cornerbacks in the league. His contract is like, I want to say top 10, so he's not a top 10 corner. So his days were numbered and he was going to go, but this is like the worst possible way for him to go. It's like we needed to get, I cannot believe, and of course now the Texans or the Chiefs are going to pick him up. Some playoff contender is going to pick him up, and maybe he'll play for them like he did the first year with the Giants, and make the Giants look stupid. But Jesus Christ, like you couldn't get anything for him at the trade deadline. Anything. Just anything. It's better than what we have now, which is nothing. So then I saw this on Jordan Raynon's podcast. Some of his contacts have said that Daniel Jones is going to be quote unquote okay. They don't see greatness. They don't see his talent level being special. I don't know what the fuck they're watching. I mean, if you watch the games, the guy is special. His ability to avoid the rush, he's making some very nice throws, very accurate throws in big time situations, critical third downs. So to say he's not going to be great, I mean, do you remember what Eli Manning looked like in 2004? Dude did not look great. Dude looked okay, maybe. But I would borderline say he looked poor. So I do think they need to shut him down for the rest of the year. I mean, why would you risk bringing him back off a high? I mean, you saw what happened with Saquon. Saquon's a goddamn superhero. And he came back from a high ankle sprain too early, and he didn't look like himself until like right now. He's able to make cuts now and make defenders look silly. So why would you do that to Daniel? What are you doing? This is the Eli Manning farewell tour now. On like whether you like it or not, there's no reason for Daniel Jones to play. I don't think it contributes to development. He got a handful of games under his belt, something like 10, 11, 12 games in his rookie season, which is a lot, and I think he's learned a lot. Just let Eli ride it off in the sunset against the fucking Redskins and the Eagles. Why not? Just do it. I don't know why you would bring Daniel Jones back. Just say, shut her down. Say, you did I mean, if I were to come to you and I'd say, we draft Daniel Jones. Before the draft, I say, hey, we draft Daniel Jones. And you're like, oh my God. Because that was the initial reaction across the board from fans. It was like, oh my God. And I say to you, okay, well, Eli Manning is going to get benched after 2 weeks, and Daniel Jones is going to play in 11 games. Whoa, Jesus. And he's going to start 10 games. And he's going to throw for about almost 2,400 yards, 18 touchdowns. He's going to put up a rating of about 84, 62% completion percentage. Like, you would not take that? You wouldn't say that's really good for a rookie quarterback? And do you think that, like, even if he puts up those numbers consistently on most teams, he wins those games, but he doesn't have a defense right now with the Giants. So if he puts up those numbers on a consistent basis, I'm completely fine with that, and I don't describe that as okay. I just don't. You know, I and people are talking like the Giants should think about going the Arizona Cardinals route, you know, because the Cardinals drafted Josh Rosen in 18, and then they drafted they admitted they made a mistake and drafted Kyler Murray in 2019. So Daniel Jones is Josh Rosen now, and Joe Burrow is Kyler Murray. What? I just don't. I think quarterback is not an issue. If he came out and the numbers were reversed and he threw 18 picks to 11 touchdowns, you know, the fumbling thing is pretty brutal. But, like, if he's throwing a lot of picks, his completion percentage is around 50, like, that's bad. And, yes, then you would probably need to seriously consider taking a quarterback with your first pick. There's no reason to go after Joe Burrow now. There's just none. That would be, I mean, that's like the darkest timeline. I don't understand why you would do that. Jesus Christ. It's amazing how triggered I get by this shit. So let's talk about the Dolphins game. This was hard to get up for. I know. It was just like, this is like, what? I don't want to watch this. We're down 10-7 at the half. The defense looked lifeless. I mean, Fitzmagic is just turning on the charm. And we have a guy named Patrick Laird, like, running the ball and making plays, and he's like their number one weapon. And the offense had nothing going on. But we turned it on the second half and pulled away. Mostly because I think the Dolphins were just like, fuck this. Are you guys actually trying? We're not trying. We were 45% on third down, which is always nice to see. We averaged 6.5 yards per play. Eli is 20-28, 283 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 picks. And the 3 picks were bad. Yeah, for sure. I got mad online, and I unfollowed a lot of people today. Just talk like, you're gonna make a big deal out of fucking Eli Manning throwing another bad interception. Like, what? You took the time to write an article about how Eli threw a bad interception to end the half. Okay, like, you guys know he's going in the Hall of Fame. So, like, all this game, the previous game, this season, the past 2-3 seasons, they don't mean anything. They really don't. And I think if he stopped playing after the 2016 season, it was like, you know what, gave it a shot, we made the playoffs, but I don't see us going any further, and he stopped playing after 2016, he would still make the Hall of Fame. These past 3 seasons have just been like, whatever. It's been the Giants refusing to move on, thinking that he still had something, and sticking to him and sticking by him. And it's like, he probably should just stop. I mean, 2015 was as good as it was going to get for Eli. 2016 was like, meh. And if he stopped playing after that season, he's still a Hall of Famer. So Saquon, 24 carries, 112 yards, 2 touchdowns, almost averaged 5 yards a carry. Had 100-plus rushing yards for the first time in his last 9 games. The 8-game drought was the longest of his career. Buck Allen got some touches, 8 carries, 28 yards on touch. Curious to know why he's just now getting into the mix. Feels like maybe mix it up a little bit more. I was just watching the Cowboys game, and it was like they do a pretty good, nice rotation with Ezekiel Elliott and Pollard, Tony Pollard, whatever his name is, Pollard, who looks really good. They just have a really good 1-2 punch. And while Saquon physically probably can withstand the workload, it'd just be nice to offload it a little bit and rotate it, give a different look to the defense. Shep had 9 catches, 111 yards, but only 1 catch in the first half. Ugh. He had Eli put it right on his numbers on one of the first drives, I think, on like a third down. Had Shep up the seam and hit him right in stride, and Shep dropped it. So you can just tell, like, there's not a lot of intensity. They're just like, yeah, we suck, and I don't really care anymore. Golden Tate was pretty much MIA. He had only had 4 targets, and he had, of course, he's good. He's always good for one, like, big catch per game, usually for a touchdown. This one, it was a, guy all over him, juggles the ball, catches it, and then for reasons, I can't even explain why he would do this, but instead of just running straight ahead for the touchdown, he decides to turn around and look at the guy as he backpedals in the end zone, almost doesn't make it. And I'm pretty sure he got concussed on that play, hitting his head backwards, falling backwards into the turf. Darius Slayton, 3 targets, nuts. I don't know. I don't know. Guy needs more than 3 targets. 2 catches, 31 yards, and the touchdown, but how he's only getting 3 targets, I don't know. Seems wrong. Saquon had 5 targets, 4 catches, 31 yards, which is, it's better, I guess. I'd still like to see him have like that 5 catches, 50 yards. That's like a good round number, and maybe that needs to be like 7 or 8 targets. And I think that, I don't know where this was mentioned, but I saw in a video that was on Reddit, but it was like in the scripted portion of the games, Shermer is calling his number in the passing game. But then after the script goes out the window and they kind of have to, he kind of has to wing it or whatever. He just doesn't call Saquon's number in the passing game. Exhibit 1,054,000 why Shermer should be canned. Defense had 3 sacks, which is nice. Forced fumble, even though I don't think it was a fumble. Sam Beal led the team in tackles with 11. 8 solo. David Mayo had 6 tackles. R.J. McIntosh had a sack. Markus Golden and O'Shane Zimenez shared a sack. Golden is the first Giants linebacker with 9+ sacks in a single season since Jesse Armstead in 1999. Holy shit. It's been 20 years. Oh, my God. Wow. Like, someone needs to frame that statistic and mail it to John Mara and be like, this is your problem. Dalvin Tomlinson had a sack. And I don't know. I don't know that I felt good about this win. It more looked like the Dolphins were like, yeah, we're like, you guys have all your starters that you're paying a lot of money to, and you guys are trying, and we're none of us are starters. We're pretty much all undrafted. We don't, it's fun to kind of compete for a little bit, but we're tired and we're just going to give up. So even though we beat the Dolphins, we have the same record as them. We still have the number 2 draft spot behind Cincy. And I guess the prognosticators, whatever, are saying that Bengals would take Burrow with number 1, and then we would take Chase Young at number 2, and then why not throw this into the mix during a week where I find out Nate Solder's kid is undergoing chemo and Janoris Jenkins gets waived. Why not have news leak that Chase Young is not going to declare for the 2020 draft and he's going to stay at Ohio State? Why not? That'll be fun. Can you imagine if he stays? Yeah. Oh, boy. I guess, if he does stay, you trade down and then you draft that tackle from Alabama, whatever the fuck his name is, Andrews. So I think it's based on strength of schedule. So even though I don't know why they don't do head to head, but instead they go by strength of schedule. And I guess the Giants' strength of schedule is worse than Miami's. So we currently have the number 2 spot. I don't think there's no way that we can get the 1 spot. I don't think. Pretty sure. We're at Washington on Sunday. Then we're home against the Eagles the following Sunday. I mean, I could see us easily going 0-2. I could see us going 1-1. I could see us going 2-0. I don't know. I don't know what this team. I mean, the Eagles did not look great against Washington. Maybe Haskins, is starting to come around and starting to play better. I know McLaurin looks pretty good. Their rookie receiver. Peterson's still got a step. Who knows? But in terms of the other teams that we're competing with for a high draft pick, since they're going to Miami, and then they're home against the Browns. I don't even know. I mean, they could go into Miami and lose, and they could lose at home against the Browns, although the Browns are just like, what is going on there? Holy shit. OBJ wants out. Myles Garrett had the suspension. Njoku was like a healthy scratch or something like that. Like, dear God, I had them as my defense in my fantasy league semifinal, and they gave me -2 points, and I'm probably going to lose. Thank you, Cleveland. The Dolphins are going to host the Bengals, and then they go to New England, and you would think, okay, so maybe that's a 1-1, output, but I don't think the Patriots are in the habit of sitting guys. They pretty much start guys no matter, how clinched things are, because I think they just want reps and the repetition and whatnot. So I would say at best 1-1. The Lions, who are now 3-10-1, are at Denver and then home against the Packers. And given that this Blau character is like not gonna like put on a cape and save the day, I would think that they lose at Denver and then they lose at home against the Packers, which means they would go 3-12-1, which is worse than like if we went out. If we go 1-1, which is very possible, if we beat the Redskins and then lose the Eagles, go 4-12. They go 3-12-1. They get the second pick. Would they take Chase Young though? Maybe. And then the Redskins, they host us, and then they're at Dallas. I think that could be 0-2 or 1-1. And so they could very possibly go 3-13 and get that number 2 spot. So, yeah, I mean, that's tough. That's tough. But to pin all our hopes on one draft pick is kind of, I don't know. People are saying that Chase Young could be the next LT. I'll see it. I'll believe it when I see it, type of thing. But it definitely would make the defense better. And who knows, maybe that opens up, with Golden already performing like above expectations, should they resign him? I would say, yeah, if it doesn't get out of control and it doesn't take away your ability to go after positions, yes, pass rush is definitely a position of need. But if you're going to draft Chase Young, probably okay to let Golden walk. It's not ideal, but you still have a very young secondary. Now with Jenkins gone, with Bethea, I don't think Bethea, I got to look up his contract, but I don't think that he's someone that you'd want to bring back, because, I mean, he had a play today on the touchdown to Parker, I think it was. It was just like, dude, what are you doing? Like, you got to cover the guy. You are our last bastion of hope. So, yeah, he's an unrestricted free agent. I don't think they bring him back. Plus, you have Peppers and Love. I think that's a good combination. I think Love can play free safety. I think Peppers can play strong safety. In the broadcast today, they were saying that they didn't know what position Julian Love could play. It's like, the guy looks like, okay, so you can't put him at corner, but he looks like he's a pretty good fit at safety. So yeah, that's the episode, abridged version, the under hour edition. I'm trying to get this down to 30 minutes, but I don't know. It seems really tough. Talking about your passions, and you want me to go short on my passions. So I honestly just let Eli play the last 2 games. and let them ride on the sunset and have that last home game against Philly. Everyone show up and go nuts and do whatever you want. Pre-game, halftime, post-game, just make a big spectacle out of it. And I know they kind of did the classy thing today where they had them, run off the field to cheers. But, like, well, it felt a little... It was like, might as well do it against the Eagles. Like, against the Dolphins, it doesn't feel as cool. Just let them play. Who cares? Daniel Jones, I don't know that you really need to see more of him. You know what you need to work on with him. You know what he does well. He has trouble with the zone, getting rid of the ball. But, to say that to give up on him after 10 starts, 10 pretty good starts in my mind. I mean, the defense plays better in like a handful of those games. Those are wins. So, but I'm repeating myself. That's today's episode of Giant Mess. Stay tuned if you're into TV and movies for another episode, hopefully coming out in the next day or two. Hit me up on Facebook.com/GiantMess, Instagram, Twitter and YouTube, Real Cinch, RealCinch. Call the hotline 862-BIT-1986, and we'll see you sooner rather than later, bro. I'll see you before you see me. Whatever, dude. Later.